On. Welcome back. I've got Eric Coonrod online. Eric, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome, Michael. How are you doing?
I am doing really well. Been looking forward to this one for a bit now, so I'm glad to finally get to today so we can have a chat. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Sure, yes. I'm an investment banker of 22 years. I was born and raised in St. Louis in the Midwest. I went to school at WashU in St. Louis. I moved to New York to cut my teeth in banking on 60 Wall for Deutsche Bank. That was as hard as you might think it is as an analyst in Wall Street. Moved out to New York. I moved from New York to LA in February of 2006. So I just passed my 20-year anniversary. I've helped start a couple of firms, helped open a couple of offices for bigger firms. And most recently, I had a bank called Integral Capital Advisors. I sold that to Garrett Camp, the co-founder of Uber. I sold that July 10th, 2024, helped them create, at the time, the very first AI-driven investment bank for smaller deals. Since then, kept my equity, left, and restarted another investment bank called Eric Coonrod & Co. back in October. And here we are.
Quite the journey. And being a fellow Midwesterner, grew up in the Detroit area. Still healing from 2006. That hurt, but hey, the Cardinals played better than we did, so it happens. Although I still have a scar in my leg from that. I'll share that in the after show and all that, unless it comes up during the conversation. But we've got so many. Obviously, you've done a lot in launch businesses and exited, launch again, and that I see that a lot with a lot of successful entrepreneurs is they'll launch something. It's like, okay, let's sell it. And then they're like, all right, let's do that again. And because once you learn how to do it, you know how to do it. And it just, when you go from different venture to venture, do you have this sensation of, okay, I want to do something different this time? Or is it just, you're taking it as it presents itself? Because I always wondered about that because people that do that a lot, you always wonder, it's like, okay, I know they're using more or less a playbook that they use, whether it's well documented or it's just in their DNA in their head. But I'm curious, when you sell a business and you launch a new one, is there an indication of, okay, here's the template I'm going to follow, or you just kind of take it as it presents itself?
I'm going to answer from the perspective of my clients and in my perspective. And I'll start with my clients first. A lot of individuals, a lot of my clients get into the business of, let's say, doctors and healthcare services. I do a lot in healthcare services. And they got into practicing medicine. They want to help people. They start their business and they're helping people. Well, then as the business grows, they spend less and less time helping people, which what they love, and more time with HR, with legal, with accounting. So they find themselves growing a pretty decent sized business that's valuable, and they spend less and less time with what they love, helping people. So they're like, you know what? I want to sell and get out of here. That's one thing. Another thing too is that I do a lot of coaching and a lot of consulting too. And you know as well as I do, the end of the entrepreneur to start a business is different than the one to grow it, right? A mindset to go from 0 to 10 is different than 10 to 100 and different from 100 to a billion. Totally different mindset, different skill set too. So I've had a lot of clients that are very self aware and thought, you know what? I've built a great business. I cannot take this to the next level. Let me sell it and do it again. And then third, some people just get bored. Like, this was fun. I don't like this anymore. I'm bored. I want to sell it and do it again. For me, that's my clients. For me, it's more right in between where I know I can take it to a certain level, and then past that, me as the CEO doesn't serve the business well. Someone with more experience working with larger transactions or larger clients should come in, and I should remove myself. That's my thought for myself personally.
No, I love that. And that self-awareness to know. And I run into a lot of entrepreneurs that they don't know. They just think, well, I got to here, I can get to there. It's like, well, it's like the skills you learned in kindergarten, which are very important, and I use them still to this day, will only get you to a certain point. The skills you learned in university or grad school, or if you became a doctorate of something, each level requires different skills. We see it in athletes, we see it in pretty much all walks of life. So sometimes you have to have a conversation with your ego and say, okay, look, you're saying this, but are you feeling it? Do you actually believe that? Because I hate to tell you, and it's a growing a business from 0 to 10 is okay. That's a lot of work. Some people can never do that. Some people do, but getting it to the levels that you want it to get to. And I ask that question too, and I know you see it all the time. You ask people, so, when's your plans on exiting? And they go, I don't have a plan to exit. I'm like, oh, you're going to be that person that lives forever. I've always wanted to meet people like you. Awesome. It's like, what are you doing? I'm just curious because, I want to live, there's still a lot of things I want to do. Do I want to live forever? Probably not, but I don't know what forever would look like. So hard for me to answer that question, but my hunch is probably no. But you're going to live forever. That's great. And they go, I'm not living. It's like, okay, well, then what's your plan? And I've had, several people on the show and, know a lot of people that are in the business of helping organizations, exit or sell their business. And time and time again, I tell people that are starting up, it's like, okay, you're starting your business. Awesome. I wish you well, but set it up as if you're going to sell it, and they look at me and like, just do it, that way. If the time comes where you might need to, hopefully it doesn't come to that, but life happens, but you're prepared. The financials are set. You've got everything documented. Someone could walk in and replace you. I know a lot of egos go, I can't be replaced. It's like, yes, you can. Someone else could be sitting in this seat and interviewing people or doing other things that I do. I know that. And that's my hope, is that at one point in time, someone will, if they so deem to. Or if they don't want to, that's great too. But ultimately, it boils down to understanding who you are, your strengths, your challenges, the areas that you're not great at, and either hire to help with those, or like in the situation where you mentioned a moment ago, you bring in people and go, you know what, I've taken it to where I can take it, and now can I learn those new skills? Of course you can. Do you want to? And that's a question a lot of people don't ask themselves. Oh, you're on mute. I'm sorry, Eric. Oh, you're good.
Sometimes, yeah, if I don't talk for a bit, I have to catch up, but I've got to fix my computer. But it's also funny, so you talk about key man. If you have a business where you are not replaceable, which by the way is not very often, if you are, that is severe key man risk or key person risk, and makes your company less valuable too. You should always be replaceable. You should have set systems where if I walk outside and get hit by a bus, God forbid, someone can take over and my business never loses a step, never skips a beat. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's critically important. And if you don't, then it's like, well, I've heard the phrase, well, you don't have a business, then you have a hobby, and it's just you. And again, you look at your business. If you have something, it's like you're the only one that can do it. Like Norman Rockwell painting. Okay, well, okay, Norman Rockwell. Yeah, other people can paint like that, but you see it on a wall and you go, yeah, I can recognize that. There's certain artists that do certain things. It's like, yeah, can they be replaced? Yeah, other people have painted, but not in the same style. And business the same way. Everybody thinks, oh, our business, we're going to last forever. But a stat I share all the time, 52% of the Fortune 500 from the year 2000 are gone. That wasn't that long ago. I hate doing that math, but it wasn't that long ago. And we figure half of those companies, that top publicly traded companies in the world, gone. So you got to remember that too. It's like your business may not be around forever. So my original career was in accounting. Worked in an accounting firm first 8 years of my life. Make sure your books are good. Understand how to read them. If you don't know how to, learn. There's no excuse not to be able to know. Hell, you can have Chat GPT tell you how to read your financials if you need to. It's not, I mean, sometimes it's scary, but I think a lot of it is just they don't want to see what they see, because sometimes it's a reality dose for some people. And that with investing, it's like, yeah, your investments are down right now. That's why I tell people, don't look at them every day. Especially, at the time of this recording, you probably didn't want to look at them yesterday, unless you like roller coasters. And because boy, oh boy, yesterday was a roller coaster. It's funny what happens when things happen in the world, what happens to the markets. But long story short, you have to make sure that you look at things in a big picture way, but also in a micro. microcosm way as well. And you have to understand how to do that. And so many entrepreneurs, that's a skill that they need to learn if they don't have it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I agree completely. You talked about preparing a couple of minutes ago, and I wrote a book called The Preparation Principle. I wrote it a couple of months ago, and it's about that. A lot of my clients, they're so involved in the business, which is great. They don't come up for air to figure out like what their financials are. I've got one in particular who I won't talk too much about his industry, but a great guy. Thought he was doing 3.5 million of EBITDA, very specialized business. I looked at his financials and I thought, you're not at 3.5. Something's wrong. The AR and the payables and something's off. We had an outside accounting firm do a QV, and the 3.5 of EBITDA was 1.5. Couldn't sell the business. And by the way, this was during a process, which I told him, I wish you and I would have met 2 years ago because I want my clients to prepare at least 2 years in advance. First of all, you said it a couple minutes ago, it's brilliant. Have a game, have an exit plan. If you always think about your business, you're going to sell in 5 or 7 years or whatever it is, but have that plan and work backwards. And then if you are going to sell in, let's say, at a certain point in time, prepare 2 years in advance. Either audit or review financials, have a very a good accounting firm come in and look at the books, a good attorney to make sure that you're doing all the right things legally, all the right documentation, all the right licenses, private wealth manager, a tax advisor, and a banker. Prepare in advance. It will save you millions, if not tens of millions of dollars in purchase price when you go to sell. Super important.
Yeah, it's your team of all stars. If you
Yes.
are going to build a team, if you're playing rec league sports or you're a former professional athlete, you know the power of having a good team. It's how you win. And
Right.
same thing in business. You don't want. Yes, I understand. It's like, well, I'm just starting off bootstrapping. I get that, but you still have the power of the spending a dollar. What are you going to spend it on? And um, I'm a big systems guy. I'm a big infrastructure guy. I love a nice, concrete, sturdy slab. Grew up in the Midwest. We had basements too, but you want the foundation to be strong.
Yes.
Don't build a basement in Florida. Just a side note. Don't do that. I
Okay.
don't think you. I don't think you can. I certainly wouldn't want to. Yeah, we build the best basements in Florida. Oh, really? Oh, so swimming pools? Okay, great. Yeah, you're literally on a little island, and I've never dug anything in Florida. I don't think I'd want to. It's like how pretty deep to get to water? Not far. But again, it's a weird analogy, but ultimately it boils down to if you get your foundation right, the structures are in place, you do all of that stuff. Not only one, does it help you with evaluation of your business down the road because everything's solid. Two, it allows you to scale easier. Not saying scaling is easy, but it allows you to scale easier because the system's already in place and you go, okay, is this scalable or am I going to have to add something else to this? And that example you gave of that one individual that thought that they were at 3.5 and 1.5, that's a pretty big gap, and I'm sure that was a uncomfortable conversation for all, because you don't necessarily like to be the bearer of bad news, but you also have to be the bearer of reality. And that they thought they were that off, or they thought they were that and they weren't, tells you that they weren't looking at everything. You can go online and find a website and say how much is my business worth, and type in a few things, say it's worth this. No, it's not. No, it's not. It doesn't take in there's so many different factors. Also, what is it you have? Because a simple calculation can be way off, and you're like, oh, that's what it's worth. No, figure out what it's worth by getting all of those all stars in play to kind of give you an idea. And if you want, let's say you have an exit plan, you say, okay, I want to sell the business when I know that I could get whatever dollar amount it is. Okay, awesome. All right, well, where are you at now? Okay, what's the difference? What do you need to do to get to that? Will it? Can it? Because you might be in a very, very specialized industry where you are capped, just by the nature of what the industry is. It's like this is basically as high as you're going to get as far as revenue based on what you offer. There's a limited number of organizations or people that will buy that. unless you can trick AI to buy it from you, then that's another story. But don't try to manipulate things. That just ends up really really bad. Definitely not. So, um, speaking of AI, um, I've been talking obviously, because that seems to be the top of mind for a lot of people. What have you seen? Because you've been in the industry for quite some time. What are some of the things about AI that you are finding? Oh, this is very helpful and refreshing. And what are some areas of concern that you may have for individuals or anybody using AI in how they conduct their investing, their business, or anything like that?
When it comes to AI, I'm using it now to create Sims. So as I mentioned before, when Garrett Camp he has something called Expo, his personal investments, and he has an incubator firm. And I was brought over 3.5 years ago to help be one of the first banks to use AI to build SIMs, confidential information memorandums, build them in a matter of minutes, build financial models, maybe build buyers lists. So we helped with that, and I do that here. So I use something in New York, an AI that I have my website. I have their website. I've got my login, and I download all the documents I have, the website. I type in some stuff, some questions and some what I want to talk about the industry. It will send out a sim, a 40 or 50 page sim in about 25 minutes. That sometimes, if I put in a good amount of data, it's about 90% finished. That is unbelievable. That usually would take you 3 to 4 weeks and a team of analysts and associates. Now it takes me, who's not very computer savvy, it takes me 25 minutes and I have a 90% sample that I give to my analyst, and he finishes it up. And that's been fantastic. The financial modeling has been great. We built financial models where we take the historicals and we build like an LBO, a leveraged buyout for the future. AI can do it in seconds. It's unbelievable. So it helps me. Still like people, but I can actually. So for an MD or someone in investment banking, my role is never going to go away. It's not going to go away. An analyst, an associate, making sims, building models, building buyers lists, even negotiating NDAs. That can be done to a certain point. Someone has to check it, but my role, I can't see a day where the client wants to talk to a computer and not a person. I still have to get in there with emotions and logic and common sense and get between buyer and seller and try to make this deal happen. Try to get both parties to come together. So I think my role is always going to be there, always going to be needed. But as you go further and further down, AI can do a lot of what the analysts and the associates do.
Yeah, I think the human element of things too is when you're having a conversation, let's say you're, talking with an AI chat app or bot or whatever. It is not yet. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. It may not pick up on those little nuances in the conversation, the body language, or anything else that comes up. Or if you know the individual enough and you recall a conversation that
Yes.
you had 6 months ago that was completely off topic, but ties into this, and they're saying, well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if, it's like, yeah, it's a good price, but I don't want to sell it. But and you remind them, but you said to me 6 months ago when we had coffee that your dream was to, spend more time in Costa Rica or and open up this little type of shop or something. This will allow you to do that. AI may not flush that out because they wouldn't have had that conversation. And I think that's where, if anything, like you said, the time savings is gigantic. I see it a lot in the stuff that I do in other arenas as well. But my hope is that with this time savings, we don't rush to go, now we can do more, which that's how people burn out. It's like, oh, you just don't take a break. Now we have systems in play that allow us to be more human, to stare at the wall, to think about, to dream, to go have that coffee meeting and maybe extend it to a lunch. When a lot of people like, I only got 15 minutes and I got to get back at it. Well, you just found a system that generates a month's worth of work in a day, if or half an hour. All of a sudden that changes things, and it does create opportunity for expansion and growth. And it strengthens the need for those analysts that would be looking at it to make sure that it's doing right. It actually, from my observation anyway, makes them stronger analysts because they have to, instead of just putting something together and putting it together. Now they're looking at it saying, is this right? Is this complete? Would this, cause us embarrassment if we release this, or would this be good? What else can we add? All of a sudden, that's where that creativity comes into play, and the knowledge and the expertise comes in. So, in my opinion, it actually strengthens the analysts to get to look at these things and go, yeah, this is better. And it eliminates all that quote unquote busy work and the stuff that takes so much time, and allows us to be, spend our time in the sweet spot. And that's one of the benefits I love about AI.
I agree completely. I mean, again, if done correctly with the right mentors and it can make an analyst better. It can certainly make them use their mind more because oftentimes an analyst might just do comps or write sims and nothing else. They're very compartmentalized. Where if they have access to AI, they can have AI do it for them, and they can do more of different tasks of a sell side assignment. The only counter I would say when it comes to my account like finance, well, you're an accountant. You have to do the accounting. You have to build the models. You have to really get in your hands dirty over and over again to understand how finance works. So by having the model, having AI do it for them, they're not learning the right way. So hopefully somehow they figure out to build a model themselves and maybe do it a couple of times in a proficient and then have AI do it. But they have to know how it's done. So they can correct it if it's broken. That's super important.
Very important. And I don't care, how advanced AI gets, debits still equal credits.
That's
Uh,
right.
ever,
Yeah.
ever since that mad monk creating accounting, 600, 700 years ago, it was like my accounting professor referred to Pacioli, I think is how you pronounce his name, as the mad monk, because it was a monk that came up with double entry accounting and all of that. It's like, yep, debits equal credits. I haven't that's been decades ago, and somehow that's permanently there's what did I have for breakfast yesterday? Can't tell you. What's my code to enter in the security to get into that one office that I work out of? Men in Black, boom, gone. I don't know where it is, but I remember Rick Birchbash telling me all this stuff. So good stuff. So I love this conversation, Eric. Where can people find out more about you, your book, and everything else you're doing?
That's great. So my company's called E Coonrod and Co. LLC. The website is ECOONROD.com. So my email address is Eric at ecoonrodco.com. And my book is The Preparation Principle. You can find it on Amazon. And should I give my phone number? Yes or no? What do you think?
Um, we usually don't get people stalking, but sometimes stalking can be entertaining. I'm just saying that side. Don't do it, people. But yeah, if you want to, I can put it in the show notes, and obviously it'll be on the thing. But yeah, if you want to share that for people to reach out, by all means.
Yeah, please do. My phone number is 310-995-8579. And I'm always open to talk to entrepreneurs or business owners or buyers or sellers. I love having these conversations, and I'm always open to doing that. If it's 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, I'll give you my time. And hopefully you'll leave the conversation more informed than when we started the conversation, at the very least.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I'll make sure that that's in the show notes. So, Eric, thank you for being you. Really appreciate your time today. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.